so incredibly excited for. They are game changers, they are innovators, they are trailblazers, and most importantly, they're very forward thinkers. It's a group of women that understand the need for products and services that are made for us and by us. And I cannot wait for you all to hear everything that they have to say to talk about building for the female athlete. We have Allyson Felix, the most decorated track and field athlete of all time.
Man, that lady has some wings.
Yeah, and co-founder of Sage. You can see her shoes in the locker room at the back, actually. We also have Natalie Holloway, founder of Bala, our host for yoga on Wednesday, so make sure you check that out. We have Amanda Lab, VP at Wilson Brand, Joe Shoesmith, Global Chief Creative Officer at Amazon, and our moderator, Liz Plosser, Editor-in-Chief at Women's Health. So please, a round of applause for this amazing group. Come on up.
Give it up, give it up.
All right. Thank you all for being here on this beautiful day. I am really excited to get into it with these brilliant ladies. And I'm going to kick it off with Allyson at the other end. Allyson, you created a seismic shift when you decided to leave Nike. I would say from the sidelines, it seems like you've chosen collaboration in your next chapter of life. Is that accurate? And can you talk a little bit about that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really a difficult time when I decided to leave Nike, but I really looked at changing the model of sponsorship for female athletes. As I departed and I went to Athleta, I really looked at it as, how can we support a whole athlete? How can it be more than just about the performance on the field of play? And how can we look at it as seeing them for who they are? In my case, celebrating me as not only an athlete, but as a mother, as an advocate, and really supporting all of that work as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allyson. And you have Sage, an amazing footwear brand. I see that you're wearing the sneaks today. I wore them on our run this morning. Can you give a couple of examples of how you're doing things differently there?
Absolutely. The biggest thing is that we're making shoes for women, and that's something that a lot of other brands aren't doing. And so when we started this company, we learned that a shoe is made off of a mold of a foot, and it's the mold of a man's foot used to make women's sneakers. And I just thought that that wasn't okay. And so I think the biggest thing that we're doing is trying to shift the culture, saying that women should not be an afterthought, that we deserve better. And we're starting to see more and more companies start with this idea in mind. We also have a maternity returns policy, which a lot of people don't know, a lot of women know, but when you become pregnant, your foot size can change, and oftentimes that change is permanent. So at our company, if you have that happen to you, we'll give you your new shoe, your new size. And so just really trying to push the industry to see women and to say that they deserve the absolute best.
Thank you. I'm so glad you mentioned the maternity perk. Women's Health just gave Sage a sneaker award, and that was one of the things we touted. I think that is so cool and really can't be stated how big something that seems so small actually is for women. It's such a statement.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, I'm going to move over to you, Natalie. Bala. Everybody loves it. You've truly captured the hearts of women. It's the color palette, it's the vibe, it's the ethos of it all. Can you take us into what was happening in your brain, maybe what was happening with you personally, professionally, and in your heart that inspired you when you began building this brand?
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Bala is a fitness brand, and we create modern fitness accessories and equipment, mainly for women. So I think, early days, whenever we were launching Bala, we previously were at 72 and Sunny, so this is kind of full circle. But we wanted Bala to not just be another Lulu, to stand out. We wanted to, merge a few areas of a woman's life and talk to her whole self versus just her fitness self. And no one needed just another copycat of Lululemon. I looked at my life at the time. I was really into yoga. I liked working out, but I didn't always have time to work out. So, sometimes I went weeks without working out. Design was a big part of my life, and so was fashion. So we essentially said, what does it look like if we start a brand that is really a merge of all of these things, especially a merge between fashion and fitness, and be like a fashion brand in a fitness brand's body? And at the time, it didn't really feel like we had seen that. So we did our first photo shoot, and we put a girl wearing stiletto heels and ankle weights. We didn't mean go do that, but it was just like our expression of the brand. And I think, when we did post that photo, we really, some people hated it, but we really resonated with a lot of people. And those were like our people. Those were the people that were like me, that we were speaking to, kind of like the everyday person that can't always get to the gym. So yes, we have athletes. Maria Sharapova is one of our investors, and our products stand up for athletes, but we really wanted to speak to a woman's whole self, like you mentioned, the colorful world, and all of these attributes to the brand were very, very important to us.
I think that is definitely reflected in the products you're creating, in the images that you put into the world, and in the way you tell stories. So I'm going to move over to Amanda and Joe. You both work for very iconic brands that have been around for a long time. A little different from Allyson and Natalie, who are working with younger brands. Can you talk about what you are thinking about when it comes to storytelling and reaching women? And what are the challenges as well as the opportunities when you come from such big legacy brands?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we're always looking for new stories to tell. I think every brand is looking for that new story. And when I think about female athletes, they've been left out of the media for so long that the opportunity there is there's so many untold stories. So many of them have amazing stories that are yet to be told. And so I think that's something that we've been talking about a lot. And also, because they've been left out of the media, they're very digitally savvy. When you have to find a path to an audience and to a fan base, you get online. And so start looking at the social following of a lot of young female athletes, and you'll see that they have large followings. And so as a brand, that's a great opportunity to jump on top of a digitally native, that fluency, understanding who their people are, having a really close following. And so for the stories that we tell, it gives us a lot of opportunity in cross-channel as well, which is great.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It's a good tip to check out the following of the people who inspire you and see who you can reach via them.
Absolutely.
I think from a Wilson perspective, we've spent 100+ years talking to players about performance equipment. And if I hear one trend up here, it's let's talk to players like they're people. And I would say that's the transition that we're making now, is how do you tell these stories with a human behind them instead of just a player who wants to win and perform. And so you're seeing that transition, I think, from our brand and marketing efforts, and also a very big reason why we got into sportswear. It's that merge of performance and sort of who you want to be on and off the court.
I'm really glad that you brought that up. I sort of taking a seat back and looking at the landscape, I think for so long, and I believe this is changing, and you all are very committed to this, a lot of the images we saw in marketing and in media, they were either almost like a hypersexualized woman who was, sort of like sweaty and hip-hopping and scantily clad, or like a gritty, super muscular athlete who's in that wonderful gold medal moment, and as though there was like nothing in the middle.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, as you all are working with your storytelling and content and marketing teams, how are you surfacing that middle ground, that lifestyle, like in the Venn diagram of, everyday recreational woman who says, yoga on the beach on vacation is her workout, which is awesome, versus the Allysons of the world and all the women in between. How do you find those women? How do you surface those stories?
I mean, I'd say you've hit on a really good point. It's about stories, not stats. And I think for women in sport, there was a lot of focus on stats and performance and not the human and the journey that got them to where they are. So I think for us, it's thinking about the role that female athletes can play in any of our comms, because we do so many things. Everything, it ranges from a retail event to sports sponsorship to broadcasting. And so there's lots of different ways and places that we can tell those stories and really give an opportunity for athletes to give you a sense of their journey, which is important for the next generation as well.
For sure. Allyson, I know one thing we've talked about is listening to women, and that we don't know all the answers right now, that maybe the billion-dollar answer to the best marketing that will reach the most women and really resonate with them is still yet to be determined, because we've got to listen to those women. Can you talk a little bit about how your brand approaches that? And Natalie, you too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we're trying to take an approach of doing something that hasn't been done before and really wanting to create the best product that we can for women, but also it's rooted in purpose. And so definitely we want to listen to her and know what she wants and let that lead us, but also coming back to the purpose and what's important to her and what does she value in her life. Our brand was started off of our origin story of me not being supported through my pregnancy, and it led to this path of creating shoes for women. But I think it's so important to be connected at that and to know that's what leads us. And so listening to women who want to be change makers, listening to women who want to be disruptors, and letting that lead us in our business as well.
Thank you. Natalie?
Yeah, and I would say we show women in their natural habitat a lot. So obviously, authenticity is key for us. A lot of UGC, but also a lot of just like realistic women expectation. Like if you have kids, it's impossible to make it to a workout. So that's okay. Throw your ball of bangles on and go for a walk. And then showcasing like our products out in the world and also at home, and somebody can, just do like a 10-minute yoga flow, like that's okay. So we really try to be approachable, and we also try to always have that fashion nod, like I mentioned earlier, just to keep it fun, like throw in some fun outfits and stuff like that.
Cool, thank you. As somebody who has 3 children, I cannot work out at home for exactly the reason you said. They will come find me and ask for more time on Roblox or something else. It's a guarantee. All right, so a question for each of you, and we can start with Joe and Amanda down on this end and keep moving. What do you wish you had known when you were first starting out? And you can interpret this question however you like. I know it's big. Whether that's professionally, personally, at the role you're in at this moment. What do you wish you had known?
Good question. Wear more sunblock, probably in this situation. I think about that first and foremost as an Australian. I also think there's something about creativity and starting in an agency, in a creative department, that naivety and lack of wanting to listen to anyone is how those environments thrive. It's this symbiotic relationship between experience and newbies. And so you kind of want them to come in and challenge you, and I think that's very much what I did, because if I was trying to teach a lesson to my younger self, she wouldn't have listened, because she came in like a bull, like young creatives do, and I think our industry needs that. It needs that tension between seasoned and new.
I love that. Some healthy friction. Good note. Amanda?
I think for me, I often say you've got to listen to that voice in your head, and you have to have the confidence to feel like you can. And a lot of times, we always hear about imposter syndrome. And I think that you've got the intuition, you have the skills, you're in the seat in the chair for a reason. So you've got to find that calm where you don't discredit yourself and you kind of lean in, as they say.
That's really good advice. At Women's Health in 2023 and 2024, we're going to be taking some big swings and big risks. And I feel like my voice is, oh no, but what if you break the brand? So I'm going to be channeling you when I just go for it and listen to my gut. Natalie?
Very curious about these big swings.
Yeah.
So I would say, especially if you're starting your own brand, just don't quit your day job. And don't quit it yet. So at least it doesn't have to be this dramatic, intense, risky thing that it's made out to be. It's I was working in advertising, and so was Max, my co-founder and husband, for at least a year before we actually quit working on the business. So I think it's you can work at night or early in the morning and start something and take baby steps, and also not make it this really risky, dramatic thing. It can just be a side hustle until maybe it's not. And I think that's how we approached Bala. So I wish somebody maybe would have told me that.
Nice. Yeah, you can dip your toe in. You don't have to jump into the deep end and take a cannonball right out of the gates.
Exactly.
Cool. Allyson, what about you?
Yeah, for me, I'd say there's freedom on the other side of fear, and that's helped me at different points in my career, whether it's starting a brand or speaking your truth. I think sometimes it can feel so overwhelming, but once you do whatever the thing is, there's just such this overwhelming sense of freedom. And so I would have loved to learn that when I was younger, but really grateful to understand that now.
Awesome. Thank you, Allyson. Let's move on to athletes for a minute. We are at Sport Beach. We have some amazing athletes on the stage today, in addition to Allyson. So what excites you guys about the future of female sports, or athletes, or leagues, or pay, marketing? Again, a big question, interpret it how you want, but what's making you feel really hopeful and excited?
A couple of things. I think about the decision makers have changed at the table from a brand side, and that's influencing where the money is going, and that's super important. And I also love this ambition of player to owner. Thinking about more women stepping into that ownership seat with teams and the impact that would have, I think is really exciting.
Cool. Thank you.
For Wilson, we picked up the WNBA a couple years ago, and I think that really changed kind of the trajectory of how we think about sports and women just one more time. And I think it really comes down to there's more accessibility. I think there's more empathy in those athletes wanting to partner with the brand, and then the brand in turn wanting to partner with somebody to elevate their platform and their voice. So I love that it all comes from this really good source and isn't just about the money or capitalism and so forth. So I think that there's this kind of community that's building and this groundswell that we can take advantage of.
Amazing. Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like the constant fight for equality, in that you are seeing a lot more athletes, make the wage that they're supposed to, or start brands like Sage and Allyson. And I think it's just really cool to see, because once somebody makes a huge move like that, like, things shift. So I'm very curious and excited to see, the new stadium in LA, new-ish, that's like a big one. So I just think you're starting to see it move in a more equal direction. I'm sure it'll take a while, but I'm excited to see that happen.
Nice.
I'm super excited just for the momentum. I think a lot of people are becoming fans of women's sports. I think we saw it big time at the women's NCAA championship. I think we've seen it with women's soccer. I think we're seeing a lot of personalities come out. And we're understanding that women's sports is a lot of fun to follow. And so it's been really cool to see that just kind of take fire and watch people just, come along with something that we've known for a very, very long time, that women's sports is really exciting.
Yeah, it was so cool seeing the huge tune-in numbers during the NCAA tournament and that championship game, and Angel Reese just sort of coming up and soaring afterward. I can't wait to follow her and the rest of the athletes and see what happens next. I think you're exactly right. The spark is there, and now I hope it takes fire. Talk to me about what you think women want to see, and answer, I guess, from the perspective of your brand, or what that means for the brands you work with.
Sure, I can start.
Go again, Allyson.
I think that women want to be seen. They want to be heard. We want to see that we're represented, and that's something that, we think about so much as we work to put product in the world, as we work to create community, is that we want to make sure that we're including everyone and that we're telling all of these different stories. So I think women want a voice, and we don't want to be overlooked for the main part.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely second that, but I would say, they want to see themselves up there, not impossible standards. So for fitness, for me, that's what you can get in that day is okay, and just speaking to somebody, kind of what I've already said, but as more of a lifestyle brand. And then we've been doing a lot of UGC for this reason. It's nice to see just something that's relatable, even if it's a bit aspirational. I think that's at least what our customers react to. And then also just if, for us, we're a fitness brand, so we also want to be putting out actual fitness content. And I think people want to see a brand that gives them value versus just takes their money. So giving them a free, workout platform, or online free workouts that they can pin or something like that. I think as a brand, it's really important to give and then ask them to buy something from you.
Yeah, I love that. I think women expect that value now. So in whatever way, shape, or form, how can a brand deliver it? Amanda?
We have a saying that's we can't just shrink it and pink it. And I think what that really comes down to is exactly what Allyson's kind of hit on with her brand, which is women play differently. Their bodies are different. Their hand shapes are different. And so how do we as a brand make sure that we're always thinking about the end user, whether that's a female or a male player? And I think that's the big sort of takeaway for us is it's insulting. And you talked about being seen, to think that color is the solution when these athletes are playing at the best levels in sport.
Thank you.
I can talk personally as well. I'd love to see a day where we don't have to have a panel that says women in sport, where it's just a sports panel. And this doesn't feel like you're having to stand up and talk specifically about that. And then personally, I'd like to see, there are so many sports that haven't made it yet. I work with Baseball for All, and the Women's Baseball League isn't there yet. And my daughter, who's a baller, isn't going to get to play, but we're on a journey so that the next generation gets to play at the level that she could play at. So seeing the emerging leagues that are yet to emerge and the energy we need to put into them to make that happen, I definitely want to see.
That's awesome. Does your daughter play on a boys' team?
Young girls age out of Little League at 12, and then there are very few places for them to just get enough field time to actually play. And so Baseball for All was set up for girls to learn how to be players and leaders and to help bring momentum to the game. We have college teams now. We do national championships. So it's getting there. It's just not the girls that we have, like Kelsey Whitmore, are playing with the boys and killing it, but carrying the pressure of a league on her shoulders every time she goes out to play. So there's a lot of sports just like baseball that haven't reached the point that they need and need everyone to get behind them to get the fan base.
Yeah, for sure. A couple minutes ago, you gave some great advice, which is that tension can be a healthy thing in the workplace. And so I kind of wanted to circle back to that, which I have been thinking about as you all just answered that last question, what do women want to see? And I'm curious, as you're building your teams or gathering groups of people together for brainstorms to make decisions or develop campaigns and content, who is at the table and who should be there? How can a brainstorm be led so that there are as few blind spots as possible, so we're as curious as possible, so we're answering all these questions that we're trying to get at today?
I like to take an unlike-minded approach to that. And so the people at the table need to be the fans of women's sports, but the people that aren't engaging as well, because we need to get, again, all those perspectives to understand what the problem is, what we need to overcome, and you want to create debate in that situation.
So that's in your workforce, or are you actually going out and doing focus group testing too?
It's a little bit of both, but mainly within our teams. So when you're building from a creative team, you want the composition of that team to come from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different parts of the world, and so they're bringing unique experience to the conversation. But also, don't run to the sports fans to work on sports work, because sometimes you get a really healthy perspective on that from someone who's completely removed from the topic.
Love that. Great advice. Joe, how about you? Yeah, that's okay.
I think for us, it's, we talk a lot about kind of front of glass and being diverse and kind of inclusive in how we portray the consumer, but I think it's really important to make sure if we say, made for players by players, we need to make sure those women have a seat at the table. And you're starting to see sort of just the impact of that. A quick example is our 3D basketball that we put in the slam dunk contest was developed by a female engineer. And I think the more that we have that representation at those tables, plus have the old guard present to see the value that they can add, I think that dynamic is really important, and obviously one that's like very pivotal, I think, right now in our industry.
Awesome. All right, I'm going off script. We have 1 minute left. At Women's Health, strength is kind of a big deal, so I would love for each of you to tell me in one sentence or less what strength means to you. Allyson?
Strength to me, I think something that's resonated with me is strength looks a lot of different ways, and especially after I came back after having my daughter, not trying to achieve what it used to be strong, but that strength was me just coming back and competing and being powerful.
Awesome.
I would say, moms are very strong. I think we can all admit that, but basically that. And then also we like to play with strength and just say it's like play. So working out should be like play.
Love. Thank you, Natalie.
I think strength is probably peace and sort of confidence in yourself and just being able to show up and know you can do it.
Amazing.
I think the power to say no, which you learn as you get older. I wish I'd known that a little bit. I did know it a bit when I was younger, but just that strength to say no, which means I might get to go for a run. So it all starts to add up into different choices that you make, but that knowing that you can say no, giving yourself permission is super powerful.
Thank you. You guys are super strong. I am super impressed with all of your answers. I learned a lot, and I'm so grateful for all of you for joining today. So that's our panel.